You're really not gonna believe how this burger gets made. It's a historic burger that only needs onions, beef, and get this, water. There's no oil, there's no butter, there's no cheese, but it has stood the test of time for 100 years, and we're gonna explore it today, so let's just jump right into it. First, we need to prep the onions and the beef, the only two real ingredients we're gonna need for this recipe. Now, usually I would just get one big onion. Okay, so I have 3 small onions here, and usually I just get one big one, but today I'm gonna use a device that I found that is actually kind of useful. If you know me, I don't really love mandolins too much. I'm always scared you're gonna cut your hand. And so I've seen these guys floating around, these slap chop mandolins. And I actually kind of like them, but there's one fatal flaw to the design, which is how small the feeder is. So when you get a small onion and you cut it in half, you can actually use it, slice it super thin like a mandolin without any fear of cutting your hand, which is great. For this recipe, we're making 2 patties, so you basically need 1 onion. This is a big onion. These 3 onions are about the same size, so that's why I'm using the small guys. You can use a regular mandolin, and you can use just a regular knife, but the key is we're gonna really need super thin slices here, and I'll explain why later. So today we're gonna try this guy out. So first I just wanna take the top and the bottom root off of the onions and get these skins off of them, and then cut them in half. Christ. This is how we do it. I'm gonna drop this guy cut in half, and I'm gonna drop it cut side down so it faces the blade. Just like that. And then you slap. Maybe just relax with it, Steve, a bit. You don't need to slap it like it owes you money. Just a nice, easy slap, and the machine will do all the work for you. Eventually, you can add a few onions at a time, and you can just slowly work through, slice beautifully thin slices of onion. Onions. I love this thing though. I mean, this is a pretty fantastic piece of equipment. I'm a big, big fan. And it comes apart, and then you can wash it. The burn is intense. I mean, look at what a good job that did. You really wouldn't expect it to do such a good job and get the onions so thin, but it really does a nice job. That's just some random Chinese version of it. That's the brand, but I imagine there are maybe better versions of that. I don't know, I can't recommend the brand, I just recommend the style. So we've got our onions. Set these off to the side. Hold on, I need a timeout. Now onto the beef, and I did just get a meat grinder, but I always get tripped up because I imagine most people don't have a meat grinder and most people are not gonna grind their own meat. So for the practicality of this show, why would I do something most people wouldn't do? So I decided not to, but if you do have one, go ahead and grind your own meat. I go to a grocery store that I trust, and they do cool things like grind their own short rib sliders. They grind them in-house. They're 80-20 lean to fat ratio. It's the perfect burger for me. And this is around 10 ounces, and I need each ball to be around 5 ounces. So I'm just gonna take these 4 sliders and combine them into 2. Again, you just wanna make sure you get your ground beef from a reputable place. Ideally, you want something ground in-house, not from a pre-packaged facility. So I'm just gonna take 2 patties at a time. I'm just gonna work them together to form a nice homogeneous ball. And I'm gonna turn those 4 patties into 2 5-ounce meatballs. And there you have it. This is all it's gonna take. We've got our burger patties. We've got our sliced onions. And the only other thing we're gonna need is water, about 2 cups, but I have 1 cup here. I'll just fill this up again when I need a second. And of course, some good buns. Now, like I said, this burger was invented 100 years ago in 1909 in Wisconsin by Pete Goki. His hamburger stand was called Pete's Hamburgers. And he actually started cooking the burgers a very conventional way, searing them on a flat top, the normal way you would imagine a burger made. But one day, after a very long rush, he found himself with a flat top full of burgers fully cooked, and he was worried they would dry out, so what he did was he poured water into the flat top, added onions, and hoped that would keep them moist. And the people who started trying those burgers loved them. And then that became their thing. Since 1909, they've been serving burgers cooked in water. What we will essentially be creating is an onion broth. And from a burger cooking standpoint, almost makes no sense. And now this recipe wasn't meant to kind of be scaled down like this. The secret is the more burgers that are cooked on that flat top, the stronger that broth gets of both onion and beef flavor, and and the burgers get more flavorful. However, we will still be able to scale this down to make it at home. Maybe not to great effect of the 300th burger cooked on that flat top in Wisconsin, but we can get an idea of what it is to eat a Wisconsin steamed onion burger and why it might be so special. So let's just jump on over the stove and get it cooked. Now shout out to this YouTuber Wisconsin foodie for a great documentation of this burger. And on a daily basis, how they make it is by pouring water into their flat top, adding a whole bunch of onions, chopping it up, letting them steam, and then adding the burger balls to the water, using a spatula, flattening them down. When some of the water on the flat top evaporates, they add a little bit more, and then when it's ready, they toss it into a bun. And over time, that broth concentrates. At home, we're going to be using a high-rimmed pan. We want to let the pan preheat and get hot, and once it's hot, we want to toss the onions in. About medium to medium-high heat. Once they're in the pan, we want to move them around, hit them with a little bit of salt, and I almost want to like caramelize some of the stringy bits, get some of them stuck to the bottom of the pan, brown that bottom of the pan a little bit, just to create a little bit of caramelization and flavor. And then I'm gonna take that cup of water and pour it straight into the onions and deglaze it a bit. And fill up another cup of water, because I'm gonna need it later. And then we're gonna allow those onions to cook, become soft and delicious and sweet. We cut them thin so they will cook nice and fast and almost melt into that broth. And if you love onions, the smell of this is gonna get you. Once they're nice and soft, we're gonna season them with a little bit of salt. And then by now, those onions are softened and that broth has reduced down and concentrated. You can see these bubbles forming and a little bit of the bottom of the pan is being exposed. Now what I wanna do is sort of push those onions off to the side to make room for the burger patties. At this point, I'm gonna add those beef patties. I'm gonna use my spatula. I'm gonna smash them down into thick burgers, not smash burgers. And I'm gonna try to match the size of that bun I'm gonna use. And then I'm gonna season them on that side with salt. And as you can see, that broth has reduced and the edges are starting to brown a bit. At this point, I'm gonna add that extra cup of water. I'm gonna set a timer for 5 minutes and I'm gonna cook these burgers. Halfway through, I'm just gonna rotate them because I can see the side closest to the wall is steaming faster than the side facing the onion. After about 5 minutes, I'm gonna give them a flip, and you wanna be careful to flip them away from you because we are cooking them in a broth. I'm gonna season that other side with salt, and I'm gonna cook it on this side for about 2 to 3 minutes. And once I use my finger to press it and it's a little bouncy on the meat, I know it's about medium, and I can start to add the onions on top so that onion flavor kind of melts into the patty. And then once I can tell it's a nice medium, I'm gonna turn the heat off. I'm gonna allow the residual steam in the pan to just rest them. Now our burgers are done. Just gonna hold those off to the side. And we're gonna deal with our bread. And Pete's obviously makes a special... You guys wanna see dyslexia in real time? Why does it say a natural spaghetti there? My brain just doesn't even see with in that sentence. And that's why sometimes I misspeak on this show. What was I even saying? So Pete's has this bun that is designed and baked fresh for them that is sturdy and holds up to the sandwich. I've tried a lot of burger buns. For this one, the potato roll seems to work best, and these are some new big potato rolls with sesame seed from Martin's that I think work really well here. And they don't toast their buns, but I think to add an extra layer of stability, I'm just gonna open face toast this in my toaster. Now besides onion and beef, Pete's does offer a few condiments, mainly a ketchup, a mustard, and a spicier mustard. So today we're just gonna go in with some ketchup and mustard on the top bun, and then I'm gonna put a little bit on my spin on the bottom bun. So to the top bun, a little ketchup. You could use Dijon if you'd like, but I actually kind of prefer a little spicy brown mustard for this. Right over top, the ketchup, just a little bit. And then here's my little secret. The horseradish is kind of like a mustard, but almost like a sushi chef applying a piece of wasabi on the underside of a fish while making sushi. Adding a little bit of this to the bottom of the bun, just gonna add that little thing, that little prime ribby flavor to it that is really just gonna make this thing a little extra on top in spite of all of its simplicity. Light smear on the bottom of the bun. Then we're just gonna add our burger patty to the bun and close her up. And then you're gonna just dig into this bad boy, and what you're gonna find is an intensely, incredibly oniony flavored juice just dripping out of it. Incredible burger. And in a bite, you instantly understand why it's been around for 100 years. I mean, You'd never know this was cooked in water. The horseradish hits you, the ketchup and the mustard add a nice little twang and balance. You really gotta try it to believe it. So I'm curious, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you'd even try something like this, what you even think about it. I'm really curious. Recipe's gonna be down in the description. That's all I have today. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care of yourself and go feed yourself.